Good morning and welcome to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. I am located at 1563 Main Street in Peckville, Pennsylvania, and I am here every Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m. on this station to bring you, the landowner, the information that you need as a landowner regarding natural gas development here in Pennsylvania. And boy, I sure hope no one's forgot, but in case you have, I represent landowners and only landowners, have not, will not, ever, not in the past and not in the future. I will do anything else, but I will not, have not, will not, do not represent oil and gas and pipeline companies. I represent Pennsylvania landowners and oil and gas right owners to make sure that we're getting you, the individual out there, the landowner, the farmer, the hunter, whatever the case may be, to make sure that you're getting the representation and the information that you need. And if you can't tell already, I think I'm going to keep this energy level up the whole day because I'm fired up. I wasn't originally, but I started looking at my notes, and I'll tell you, I'm fired up. So, okay, that's the kind of show we're going to have today. Not always this kind of show, but it's going to be the show today. Just again, so you know who I am. I represent landowners, only landowners, gas right owners for natural gas and oil-related issues, gas lease negotiations, gas lease reviews and consultations, pipeline agreements, represented landowners with over 60 different companies involving pipeline right-of-way agreements and easement agreements, unitization, royalty issues, extensions of leases, estate planning, surface use agreements, deductions, royalty claims, any and all matters relating to natural gas development in Pennsylvania. And if you're far away, do not be concerned. We can do things by telephone, by email, by fax. And if there's ever a problem, I will tell you certainly, hey, this distance may be an issue, but I have clients all across Pennsylvania, Greene County, Washington County, Allegheny County, Armstrong County, Westmoreland County, you name it, Beaver County. Got a Beaver County client right now, and have clients in, of course, Tioga, and historically, Lycoming, actually active now, Susquehanna, Bradford, so on. My point is that I represent clients all across the state. So if you have any concern about distance, hey, give us a call and find out if we can work for you. Because not only do I represent clients all across the state, I represent clients that have represented clients that live all across the country who have Pennsylvania oil and gas rights, and even landowners and gas right owners in foreign countries. And what I mean by that is that they're living in foreign countries. That it's individuals who maybe have property in Pennsylvania, but for whatever reason are residing, maybe military, maybe working for government, whatever the case may be. So just to say, distance, don't be discouraged by distance. Give us a call, 570-307-0702. Say it again, 570-307-0702. So, okay, I'm going to jump in. This is going to be our wake-up call. We're going to start with this little wake-up call. Sometimes sometimes, and not my listeners, but sometimes we got to, you give the kid a slap in the head to get him to pay attention. And I'm saying figuratively, not literally. So, okay, here's the little slap to make sure everyone's paying attention. What's up with this guy? He's on the radio. What's he doing? He's complaining. He's getting loud. Well, why am I doing this? Well, because we need to. Why do I get frustrated? Because there are a plethora of reasons to be frustrated, and new reasons seem to arise every day. We need to get you, whether you ever call my office, whether you ever go to the websites, which you should just to get information if nothing else, but we need to get you information. Why? Why is he saying this? Why don't I just listen to the landman? Why don't I just listen to the company representative, the company employee? Well, good time. Why don't I listen to the landman? Why didn't I not take my advice and make my decisions based upon their representations? Because the landman works for the company, not you, the landowner. Again, in case you miss it, and it's not going to be the only time, so we'll say it yet again, the landman does not work for you, the landowner. They do not work for you, the landowner. It's fine. They have a job. We respect that. We understand that. That's a good thing. However, we also need to understand that they're not working for us. We're not paying them. We're not on their letterhead. We're not on their business card. We are the landowner side. They don't work for us. Don't ever, ever, ever forget that. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. I'm here with you every Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m. on this station to bring you the information that you need regarding gas development here in Pennsylvania. So, okay, here's our wake-up call to start today. So, yeah, what is this guy talking about? Okay, here's a great example. So here I have an addendum. I have addendum in front of me. It has two provision addendum for a gas lease. One is for water well damage and fixing, which the company would be, they're going to perform a water test, and if there's a problem, they have to fix it anyway. So really, it's a throwaway provision in my book. Throwaway. Doesn't do anything beyond what the current statutes, laws, and regulations require. So you're just saying sometimes like, oh, we agree to follow the law. Well, just because you write it down doesn't mean you weren't obligated to follow the law anyway. So when you make a commitment to follow the law in writing, let me tell you, what the heck does that mean? If you didn't write it down, you could break the law all you want. So some terms, and sometimes I'll look at 10, 20 addendum terms added to an agreement, and maybe one or two mean something. The other 15, 8, 10, whatever it is, are throwaway addendum provisions because they only track, meaning copy, or run right along with the statutes, the regulations, and the laws that have to be followed anyway. So you as a landowner say, oh, wow, I got 10 addendums. Well, yeah, maybe all 10 mean nothing. Or maybe one or two means something. But we don't go by quantity. We go by quality. So, okay. Again, I know getting off track. So, okay, here's our wake-up call, and then we're going to get into the good stuff. So, well, this is good stuff, too. Wake-up call. 2 addendum terms. 1, about water testing and fixing any water damage. Throwaway. Number 2, bold typing. Bold typing. Pay attention to this, guys. Pay attention to this, landowner. This must mean something. It is a heading in bold letters. Stands right out there. What does it say? No surface use. No surface use. That sounds good. This landowner, all they cared about, I don't want the company on my property. I want to make sure that they are not permitted on my property. So landman comes out and says, oh, hey, here you go. We got you a no surface use provision. No surface use. Wow. Pretty darn clear. That's the heading in bold standing out. Then says, notwithstanding anything else in the lease, meaning despite anything else, this, what we're going to read, controls. Company is prohibited from using the surface of the leased premises for any purpose. Wow. Awesome. For any purpose. Can't use it. But there's more. For any purpose other than conducting survey and seismic operations. Oh, well, okay. We don't mind about that either. We don't want pipes, roads, well pads, ponds. We don't want any physical damage to the surface of the property. So, okay, again, unfortunately, it's not done. It says no surface use. Then again, paraphrasing to make this quick. No surface use on the lease or no surface activity on the lease premises except conducting survey and seismic operations without the prior written consent of the landowner. So if you don't consent, they can't put a pipeline, a well pad, a pond, a roadway, so on, so on, so on, an above ground facility. But there's one more clause. So without the prior written consent of the landowner, which consent may not be unreasonably withheld. Consent cannot be unreasonably withheld. So let's make this real simple. Company comes out, wants to put a well pad on the property, wants to put a 15-acre well pad access road on your, say, 30-acre property. Pick a number, it doesn't matter. 15-acre well pad. I get involved in many of these well pads and roads over 20 acres. Not an exaggeration, guys. Over 20 acres. So this says, company comes out. They say, we want to put a well pad in your property. You go, I was really smart. I told the company I wanted a no surface use agreement, and that's what I got. And I'm going to get my lease, and this conversation is going to end. You go get your lease. Of course, the landman has the lease, or the company employee has the lease, and says, well, Mr. Landowner, your lease says we can't do a well pad without your consent. However, you cannot unreasonably withhold your consent. So we think you saying no to this is an unreasonable position. So therefore, we're going to put a 15-acre pad and roadway on your property because you're being unreasonable, and we need to put it there because it's good for us and good for business. We need to do it so we can effectively develop the area per our geologists. Well, you probably don't have a geologist as a landowner. And you say, well, whoa, wait. I have a no surface use agreement. I have a no surface use agreement. Look right here. The heading right here says no surface use. You can't do it. Oh, nope. There's a provision that says that the headings in leases don't mean anything. It's the content underneath the heading. So we give you, landowner, a document with an addendum that says, quote, no surface use. No surface use. That's the heading. But, by the way, in the small language at the end of the lease, it says that headings essentially don't count. Headings don't mean anything. It's the content below. And then when you look at the content below, we're allowed to do a pad, but we have to get your consent, or a roadway or a pipe or anything else. But we have to get your consent. But you can't withhold your consent unreasonably. And are you going, when the company says you're being unreasonable, are you going to then go hire a lawyer? Are you going to fight the company? You're going to hire a geologist to say, no, you don't need my property here to effectively drill and develop and extract gas in this area? Are you going to engage in tens of thousands and literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees to fight something like this? Most people know. I haven't seen very many of these fights go on. And if you want to try to stop them, maybe, God forbid, you have to file for an injunction and post a bond saying that if you lose, you are going to have to pay the company business losses for challenging them. So, again, this landowner, here's our wake-up call. Landowner calls me for review and consultation. Took less than 2 hours, easily in this case, less than 2 hours, sends me this stuff, says, hey, I got this great lease. This is all I wanted, was a no surface lease. This is all I wanted. I got what I want. I'm good with everything else, but I just wanted you to look at it. And I wanted to have a quick call to make sure I wasn't missing anything. And so I do these reviews and consultations all the time. Listeners, please, if you're considering something, this isn't just about, God, hire me, I need business. We need to defend against making these type of mistakes. And this is just one glaring mistake. These mistakes happen all the time. Landowner thinks the contract means something. In this case, the landowner thought that it meant no surface use. So we do this review and consultation, and I have to say, we'll call him Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, unfortunately, I know that the no surface use is so important to you, but look at this. Let's go over this and let me explain, which I just did with you guys. He says, oh my God, I thought, oh my heavens, thank heavens. And this isn't to blow my horn. I'm so glad I called you. I was going to sign this. I thought it was a no surface lease. Look, right here, the heading says no surface lease. And then I show him, I know, look over here though in the lease where it says that the headings are for identification only and they don't count. It's the content below. So, guy doesn't sign lease, gets back into negotiations and gets a true no surface lease. True no surface lease that they can't touch the surface of his property without his permission. But my heavens, if he didn't call, if we didn't go over this, he would have signed a lease that he thought was a no-surface lease, and he would have been completely wrong and, God forbid, completely surprised later and sick over it. And I see that those are calls that I get. Those are calls that I get at my office where people didn't get it reviewed by an attorney, people who didn't get any help, people who relied on the company, relied on the landman, only later to call and say, well, they didn't tell me that. I didn't understand that. You have to understand before signing. They're not good conversations that I have to have with people to say, and I don't like to ever say it, but boy, I wish we would have talked before you signed. I would have explained these things to you. You then can make your own decision. I never tell people, don't sign this. Maybe I do. It's your choice. Some things are so unbelievably bad. But as far as like leases go, pipeline agreements go, I explain everything. And then you can make your own decision with full facts and knowledge. That's what I do. We say, here's the strengths, here's the weaknesses, here's what may be able to be changed. How do you want to handle it? So again, this is not a big commercial for me, but I'm telling you, call me, call somebody, get a review and consultation at minimum before you sign, and then go from there. Again, it's usually an hour or two. I've been talking a lot about these reviews and consultations because they work. They help people. It's very, very valuable. I'm doing them all the time. I love doing them. The clients, the landowners love the process because we do it by phone. We do it in office, whatever you want to do. We can do it with as many people as you want as far as under the same lease. And I give you the best information and you make your decision. So you're interested, give us a call, 570-307-0702. 570-307-0702. I am so far over in this segment that this may be the longest segment that I have ever done. So we're going to have some shorter ones, but we're getting into some good stuff here in a moment. Listen, you're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. I'm going to be right back after this break. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. I'm here with you every Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m. on this station to bring you the information that you need regarding natural gas development. So, okay, just to finish here. So the guy thinks he has a no surface use agreement. The gentleman thinks that. Why? Because he only spoke with the company landman and nobody who was speaking for him and giving him the information that he needed regarding the gas development on his property. Very wise man once told me it's not a debate when there's only one person and one microphone. So this is an adversarial process. Not that you're going to go get into a fist fight, but it's an adversarial process. It is a negotiation. When you go to the car dealership wants to sell you the car at a truck at the highest price that they can sell it to you at. You want to buy it at the lowest price that you can buy it at. That's an adversarial negotiation process. You're not going in there throwing haymakers at the salesman, and they're not doing that with you. You're negotiating in order to get the best deal for you. That is this process. So you need, and it's much, 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 much more complicated than buying a vehicle. Much, much more complicated. You can't just look at the numbers. You got to look at language. You got to look at a lot of things. So beware of the one man, one microphone debate or information providing when you're in these negotiations. You need to have information from your side. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Real quick, go check out pagasleaseattorney.com, pipelineattorney.com. Whether you're looking for representation, want to learn more about us, me, what we do at the Clark Law Firm, go check it out. Check out the testimonials. Check out what we do. I love what I do. Represent landowners, gas right owners. Hey, good time to say it. Not companies. Never have, never, ever will. Never, ever, ever will. Never. I don't care. I will never represent a company. Never have, never will. All right, sorry. It just is so important to me. So, okay, as a son of a steelworker farmer and as a grandson of a steelworker farmer, that's important to me. That's very, very important to me. And I'll go down swinging for you, the landowner. All right, because I'm fired up today, so I apologize. I don't apologize. We need to get this emotion. We need to make sure that we're getting you the information and you understand the seriousness of this. So, okay, I'm switching gears now. So, all right, I'm going to touch on this. Letters. Company sends letters. These companies sending people letters. Sending letters to people in Tioga County. Sending letters to people in Susquehanna and Bradford County. Different companies doing it. A letter. Just know letters aren't just whipped up. There's a lot of thought how these letters are written, what they say. A lot of thought. A lot of eyes looking at these when they send out mass letters. So I just want to touch one from Cabot to people in Susquehanna, Bradford County, saying that they want to get a consent. They're asking you to consent to multi-unit wells. So if you're a listener, you got one of these letters, you sure as heck know what I'm talking about. What they ultimately want you to sign is a consent to a multi-unit well. I'm going to probably talk about this as we go forward in the future, but for today, I'm going to say, please don't ever sign a letter. In my opinion, not specific advice, but here would be my opinion. I would never sign a letter that the company said, or a document that the company sent me in the mail and said, oh, here you go, here, sign this, get it notarized, send this back. One of the things I think is you better darn well know what the heck you're signing. And I'll tell you, this is complicated. And I'd use this analogy, and I don't mean it disrespectfully, but I just think that it fits. And generally speaking, if somebody is what I would analogize to a low-hanging fruit, they're not going to call me anyway. They're just going to sign. Okay, so what am I talking about? Low-hanging fruit. They're going to just sign. The companies say, they look out there, and it's funny because this is apple season. And so you look out there and you see this apple tree. And I remember as kids, boy, loved apples. We ate apples during the day so we didn't have to go home for lunch. So we would go out, and there are apples that you could reach up and grab. And some of them were nice, big, plump ones that you could reach. Some, you had to climb up real high. Some, okay, well, let me go too far. So the nice, big, fat, juicy apple sitting at the bottom of the tree in the lowest limbs that you can reach up and grab and start chomping on. Well, that's the low-hanging fruit. Companies know that a bunch, say there's 100 landowners. I don't know what the number is. Maybe it's 50%, 50 of them. But there's low-hanging fruit out there that we send a letter to them and say, hey, sign this, get it notarized, send it back. Good for you, good for us, everybody, everything is wonderful. Well, there's a bunch of people that are going to just say, okay, where do I sign? A bunch of people. The low-hanging fruit is now being picked. Then you have the mid-level fruit, the apple trees where you got to climb up in the tree and you got to start reaching out and getting some nice plump apples. So that may be that there might be more money offered, better terms, not just talking about this letter, but other things as well. So, number one, don't be the low-hanging fruit. Don't be the low-hanging fruit. Don't sign something that you don't fully understand. And don't sign something, in my opinion, that you think you understand based upon what you've been told by the entity, the representative of the entity who wants you to sign it. Think about it. Just think about that. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. So, okay, this letter then, there's a sentence in this letter I find striking to me. Please sign the enclosed production sharing agreement, have it notarized, return it to Cabot in the enclosed envelope at the address, self-addressed envelope, within 30 days from receiving this letter. Here's my question. Or what? Or what? What? Or what? 30 days? Like, what are we talking about? I better figure this thing out. Now, look, in fairness, and I think Cab is one of the better, absolutely one of the better and one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best companies out there to deal with. That's why I'm always going to be honest. I believe that. But, look, I don't think any company by far is perfect. But they say, hey, here, call these numbers, get information. And that's good. I welcome that. What do I say? Information. Quality, credible information will result in you making the right decision for you, your family, and literally for generations in some of these agreements. So information is very good. So I applaud that and I welcome that. But at the same time, here, hurry up, get the sign, send it back. There's no time limit. Talk to them, again, no specific advice. But why in the world is there a 30-day time limit? Because that puts some pressure to say, I better hurry up and get this signed. So the low-hanging fruit is going to go ahead and hurry up and sign this within 30 days. The mid-level fruit is going to start asking some questions and maybe doing a little negotiation, but asking questions and making decisions. And then we have the high fruit, the one that's always the juiciest. There's a kid out there looking for apples. You climb up to the top, you stretch out there to the point where you think you might fall. There's a nice big juicy apple, or a real high acreage landowner, or any landowner, important landowner, and they're not going to sign. They're not going to make it easy. They understand, I need to learn my rights. I need to understand this. Is this an opportunity? Why is this good for me? Why is it bad for me? And the low-hanging fruit, let's say there's 20 people in a unit, and you're asked to sign something. And there's 20 landowners that are in that unit. Well, if you're going to go into multi-units, let's say there's going to be 3 units that'll be impacted, and there's 20 landowners in each unit, making up the numbers. 60 landowners. Well, you have to comply with the lease of everyone in the unit. So if 55 people sign and 5 do not, and they're spread across these units, can the company even do what they're asking to do? And then the question is, well, if you're the last one, what does that mean? What is the company going to do? Are they going to cut you out of the unit? What are they going to do? Let me just leave it at this. You should be asking these questions. Not specific advice for anyone, but we need to ask questions. We need to be educated. We need to understand what you're asked to be signing. And we, as the landowner side, need to stop being the low-hanging fruit. Ask the people in 2006, 2007, 2005, and even early 2008. They were at the time, but they didn't know it. They didn't know it, that they were the low-hanging fruit when they signed bad agreements. They didn't know it. That's not a problem. They didn't know it. But now we know. Now we know. So we need to take the information and the knowledge that we have now that we didn't have in 2005, 6, and 7, but we have it now. So we cannot make the same mistakes that were made in 2005, 6, and 7, and even 8, and other people made throughout. We can't make those mistakes because now we know better. Let's use that information and make the right decision. We know better. Take advantage of it. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm, here with you every Sunday, 8 to 9 a.m. on this station, and I'll be right back after this message. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. You can join me every Sunday right here on this station from 8 to 9 a.m., where I bring you, the landowner, the valuable information that you need regarding natural gas development in Pennsylvania. And I want to remind everybody again, if you haven't been there, or if you've been there, go again. Go check out pagasleaseattorney.com. Check out pipelineattorney.com. There are at least a year plus of radio shows that I've done that are available. You can listen at your leisure. You can listen to today's show on Monday morning. It will be up and available. So hours and hours of shows. You can go back anytime. Check them out. Read the information, good quality information, regardless if you're looking for representation or not. Get educated, get information. I believe, I'm certainly biased on this, but I believe it's an excellent resource for landowners. So I encourage you again, pagasleaseattorney.com, pipelineattorney.com. You're new to the show, go back, listen to shows. We do them on all different types of subjects. So, okay, next thing I want to talk about. More information that is distributed from a company to the landowner. And this is done by this Marcellus Shale Coalition. So there's a section in materials, and if you receive this, Tioga County landowners, you'll know what I'm talking about. So there's a section here. I'm going to talk about deductions, but this is material that people are sending in to me that I'm looking at here, holding in my hand, and some things I want to talk about. Okay, there's a sheet called Post-Production Costs. Post-Production Costs, the value for leaseholders. Okay, so I'm going to take some things from these materials that were provided to landowners out in Tioga County. And again, I don't care where you are, this is going to be relevant to you. So, okay, one heading here is, what can property owners negotiate when they lease their natural gas rights? I'm going to read from this. Natural gas cannot be extracted without the consent of the property owner, which is typically the landowner. Therefore, no lease can be executed without the consent of the property owner. Pay attention to this. Meaning, just about any facet of the proposed lease can be negotiated until it meets the property owner's approval. Again, Marcellus Shale Coalition. I'm going to read that last phrase again. Oh, you know what? Read the whole sentence. Therefore, no lease can be executed. So you can't enter into a lease without the consent of the property owner. Meaning there's no lease unless you sign it. That's what we're saying. Meaning just about any facet of the proposed lease can be negotiated until it meets the property owner's approval. Meaning, if you don't like something, if you don't like post-production costs being deducted from your royalty payments, I've yet to meet an individual who does. I can't fathom that I ever will. But if you don't like that, you can negotiate that. You can even the materials they provide, you can negotiate. It's all negotiable. Flip side, if you don't get what you want and you don't sign an agreement, you're not going to get royalties. There's a lot of space in between step one and signing and royalties. A lot of space in between there. So they tell you, Marcellus Shale Coalition tells us that any facet of a proposed lease can be negotiated until it meets the property owner's approval. Remember that. You can negotiate anything. Now, you don't reach an agreement, you don't have a lease. But you can negotiate anything. Let me tell you something. My opinion, and I want to make this clear. Please pay attention to this. In my opinion, if people stopped signing leases that allowed for post-production cost deductions, you would start seeing leases that precluded post-production cost deductions. But as long as people are going to sign leases for post-production cost deductions, then the company is going to keep presenting them. As long as people sign leases for the amazing term of 10 years. 10 years. 10 years. Well, if you're signing them, your people are going to still get them. If everybody stopped signing 10-year leases and said, no, that's outrageous, not signing a 10-year lease, don't feel it's appropriate, not going to sign a 10-year lease, what's going to happen? One of two things. The company's going to pick up and leave and say, oh, you guys, we needed 10 years and you wanted 5, we're going to leave. That could happen. I know what my opinion is on that. Or the company's going to start giving 5-year leases. It's that simple. Which one do you think it's going to be? Not specific advice for any person. Talking about these concepts. It's the market. If people are going to sign 10-year leases, then you're going to see more 10-year leases. If people say, no, there's no other place in Pennsylvania, not a place in Pennsylvania where people are offered regularly 5-year leases. To the contrary, just did one for 3 years, 3-year lease. In case you're doing the math, that's 7 years shorter than a 10-year lease. I don't see 10-year leases anywhere. Again, I do not see 10-year leases offered anywhere in Pennsylvania except Tioga County. That's the only place. Think about it, guys. Not telling you not to sign, not telling you to sign, not telling you anything. Well, I'm telling you something. I'm telling you I don't see that. I don't see that. I don't see it. And I would be extremely hard-pressed to be in a situation where I would be agreeable myself, for a 10-year lease. And I'm a young guy, but well, at least I tell my wife that. But seriously, not specific advice, but my heavens, it's just, to me, it's outrageous. It's outrageous. It's outrageous. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. I'm saying it one more time. 10-year lease to me is outrageous. Only place that it occurs, Tioga County. Only place that I see it occur regularly, Tioga County. There may be a lease that a client that I represented that signed a 10-year lease, but honest to God, I don't recall it. And I've done hundreds and hundreds, and I cannot recall ever doing a 10-year lease anywhere except Tioga County. I don't get it. Okay, I want to keep going on this because we just said everything is negotiable, including the time frame of the lease, which, by the way, here we go. Typical provisions include, this is again from the Marcellus Shale Coalition, number 1, bullet point. So these are bullet point items referenced in the Marcellus Shale Coalition of examples of things that can be negotiated. First bullet point, the duration of the initial term of the lease. And then in parentheses, how long the operator has to drill. Okay, first off, my opinion, that is so unbelievably misleading. It's remarkable. It's unbelievably misleading. Saying, first off, 100% true. You can negotiate the primary term of the lease. For example, no company, I will not sign a 10-year lease. I will be more open to signing a 5-year lease, not a 10-year lease. That can be a negotiation point. So it says, though, it represents, the initial term. Look, I've preached this for years now, and I will keep preaching it because we need to get this out there. We need to make sure, in case you missed last week's show or any other show over the last 6 years, that this gets into you, that gets into your head, that we know it, that the initial term, so let's say 10 years. Let's say it's a 10-year term. That is not how long the company has the drill. That is incorrect. Look at these leases. Look at an individual lease. This is not if you have a negotiated lease, it may have something different. But these leases require that the company conduct operations. That's the key term, operations within 10 years. Operations in virtually every lease that I've ever seen presented to a landowner does not require drilling a well. Many times, most times, they have 10 years to file for a permit to drill. So in 10 years, doesn't mean you have a well drilled. It means if they keep this lease going, they have to at least file for a permit. That could be quite a bit of time before actual drilling. Then you're going to have shut-in. So, as my friends, my many, many friends in Tioga County know, as they sit there with vertical wells, capped vertical wells that aren't producing, that they're getting $5 per acre shut-in payments, and it's going on year after year after year. So the wells aren't producing. So, 10-year lease, no, you don't have to drill by then. 10-year lease, you apply for a permit. Let's say then you drill a vertical hole down to Marcellus, down to Utica, cap it. And then you're going to have shut-in payments. Well, I've seen people, one guy over 20 years. But that's unusual. But certainly, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, think about it. You know who you are out in Tioga County. You know friends out there that are sitting there getting shut-in payments. So you signed a 10-year lease. They apply for a permit. They don't drill. They apply for a permit in year 10. Then they shut you in for 5 years. Now you got 15 years and you haven't seen royalty. That's part of my belief that 10 years is outrageous. It's outrageous to me. Now, you could have a 10-year lease and they drill in year 1. Well, okay, then what's the harm in a 5-year lease? Give me a 5-year lease, drill in year 1, drill in year 4, drill in year 5. But you have to defend against this. You have to defend against this. All right, I'm gonna go to my next segment. We're gonna take a break. One more segment. Gonna keep talking about this. You're listening. I'm gonna talk about deductions too. I hope I have enough time. You're listening. All Things Marcellus with me, attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Make sure to join me every Sunday on this station where I'm gonna bring you the information you need regarding natural gas development for the landowner. I'll be right back. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. I want to remind everybody again, commercial alert, reviews and consultations. I would highly recommend that you seriously consider doing a review and consultation with me, which I do them all myself, of course. If you're considering a gas lease, if you're considering a pipeline right-of-way agreement, a great first step is a review and consultation. You send the information to the office. I do most of them by telephone, where you, your wife, your children, anyone on the lease can join in. And sometimes I do them. I have clients across the country where different relatives are living in different areas. We can do them as a group, but it has to be for that lease. But you send that information in. It usually takes 2 hours or less, 1 to 2 hours, we typically tell people. And it gives you the information you need to decide, okay, do I want to go forward? Do I like this? Do I want to negotiate further? How do I want to handle this? And it's a honest, completely honest, straightforward advice from somebody working for you, somebody who does this all the time to make sure that you understand what is the good in the agreement, what is the bad in the agreement, what is the market. I started the show talking about the no surface use lease, where thankfully that landowner who thought it was such a simple thing, they had 2 addendum terms, but said, you know what, for the sake of caution, for an abundance of caution, so I can sleep at night, let me send this to Doug Clark, schedule a call, and let's go over it. In this case, I think comfortably took less than an hour and explained, hey, here's the deal. You don't have what you think you have. And boy, is that person glad they made the call. But that was that was super, super simple. But it was still something that the person was going to sign before they called. They called, understood, wasn't what they thought, went back, and then obtained what they wanted to obtain, what they thought they had, but they wanted to check. So I do those all the time, and I no one yet has said, boy, I wish I didn't do that. Most of the time, almost they say, wow, I'm so glad that I did this, that I got all this information. Again, this is not trying to be a big commercial. I'm trying to say we need you to get this information before you sign, before you commit, before you sign. Doesn't help after. I can explain it to you after, but it doesn't help after. So again, if it's me or somebody else, get a review and consultation at least before you sign anything. I'm giving you simple examples, but boy, there's a lot of complex ones. I do this virtually every day. If I'm not on vacation, I'm doing this virtually every single day, all across Pennsylvania. And I learn things all the time. And so you as a landowner looking at this once, or your neighbor, and this guy did this guy did that, I assure you that there are so many intricacies, built-in loopholes in these contracts that we've seen exploited, where you looking at the contract don't understand how something might be exploited to your detriment in the future. That's what we need to do. We need to make sure that we uncover the loopholes, show you how these have been used and manipulated to the benefit of the company and not you of the landowner. Not specific advice. The specific advice is, as always, get specific advice. For you, not your neighbor, for you. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. So, okay, I'm going to go back to this Marcellus Shell Coalition materials given out to landowners, as I understand, in the Tioga County area, saying, again, remember, I got to go back to this statement. Therefore, no lease can be executed or signed without the consent of the property owner. So obviously, pretty simple stuff. Can't have a contract unless you sign it. So no lease can be executed without the consent of the property owner. Next sentence, meaning just about every facet of the proposed lease can be negotiated until it meets the property owner's approval. This isn't me talking, which is true. I could say it, but it's Marcellus Shell Coalition, meaning that any proposed lease can be negotiated until it meets the property owner's approval. So, look, if you don't sign, you don't have a lease. But before you sign, everything is on the table. Now, you're not going to get everything, but everything is on the table, which I want to turn to including 10 years, including royalty percentage, including bonus, including surface operations, and much shut-in, pew clause, much, 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 much more. But we're not going to go that deep today. You're limited on time. But what we are going to talk about is, well, if anything can be negotiated, how about I negotiate to get rid of post-production costs called deductions, we often call deductions. Well, yes, you want to negotiate to eliminate post-production costs. One thing that I find funny today, now look, the gas prices are low, but something I find funny today, we're never going to give royalties with no post-production cost deductions. Let me tell you this. I've heard that statement made, and then I've seen companies do the opposite. Just like when they said, we're never going to give over $25 an acre. Within a year to $6,000 an acre in some areas. It doesn't work. If you're going to say, well, if you really fight, if you really push, if you really, really dig in, well, yeah, we'll give you what you want. That's not how negotiations work. That's not how they work. Again, if everybody said, no, we're not signing 10-year leases, which is a real simple one, or everyone says, no, I'm not signing a lease that's going to allow you to take post-production costs. Everybody in Pennsylvania, unleased, puts their pen down and says, we will not sign a lease that allows for post-production costs. Two things are going to happen. Three. We'll say three. Company picks up and leaves. Says, oh, this isn't profitable. We're going to leave because we can't do it this way. Number one, there are thousands of leases in Pennsylvania that preclude post-production costs. So that happens. It's out there. It's happening all over. And many, 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 many clients, they could get royalties without post-production costs being deducted from their lease. It happens many, many times. Okay, so the second thing, well, they say, well, okay, we're just going to develop around you and we won't lease you. That's a reality, and that's where you need specific advice. We need to look at your situation. Or number three, well, hey, we need these leases to effectively develop, and we're going to make a lot of money here as a company. So, yeah, we don't like it, but let's give them no deductions. Many companies have done that back in 2008, 9, 10, 11. I say I like Cabot. I have done so many leases with Cabot that they don't take post-production costs, even Southwestern. Many companies. I mean, many, many, many companies. Now, I'm not telling you that you're going to get no post-production cost deductions. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that it's negotiable. It's 100% negotiable. And in fact, as I sit here and hold in my hand a royalty provision that was just agreed to with a client of mine, this provision says, this gives you an idea. Okay, so out there, we're going to give you 12.5% with full deductions, 15% full deductions. Oh no, we're going to be real nice. 13.5%, 14. We're going to inch it up. After saying we're never going above this, now we're going to do that. Okay, let me back away and say, so here, listen, this is a sheet of paper. Royalties. This is a heading. This is a heading. It means something. Royalties. No post-production costs deductions permitted. So you can't take deductions. That's what the heading says. But no, remember, we're smart. Can't just look at a heading. Can't look at a heading because there's a lot of headings that say no deductions, and it's a total lie. In my opinion, but truth. So, okay, this says that the company agrees to pay the landowner a royalty in the amount of 18%. Yeah, that's happening today too, 18%. Of their proportionate share of all oil, gas, and constituents thereof produced, saved, marketed, sold. So in other words, 18% of gas royalties, okay, of gas sold. Then the royalty paid to the landowner. This is great. royalty paid to the landowner shall be of actual gas sold from the premises and shall be free of all post-production costs and expenses incurred. That sounds good, but remember, we were smart. We got to dig deeper. Then it says, as used in this lease, post-production costs shall mean all costs, expenses, the company, its assignees, agents, subsidiaries, or affiliates incurs between the wellhead and the point of sale in an arm's length transaction, pay attention, to an unaffiliated third-party purchaser, including but not limited to, saying these aren't allowed, gathering, storing, marketing, transportation, metering, separating, treating, dehydrating, compressing, or any other costs of any other kind or nature incurred in regard to the gas or oil or handling of gas or oil between the wellhead and the point of sale in an arm's length transaction to an unaffiliated purchaser. If I could, I would just drop the microphone right there. That, ladies and gentlemen, in my opinion, is a nice, true, no deduction royalty provision, one of which has been agreed to within the last week. Agreed to. So it occurs, and not only is this no post-production cost, I know there's a lot to digest, but here's the deal. This language is fantastic. In part, I'm biased because I had quite a bit to do with it, but what this is defending against is the company selling the gas to themselves at probably a discounted rate and then paying you royalty on a self-dealing transaction. So this says no deductions, not only from a sale, because the company could sell it to a subsidiary, and many do, at the wellhead. There's all these loopholes around paying royalties without deductions. There's a ton of them. We need to watch it, and I see them, so I can educate you. Then we say, okay, we know companies are selling it to themselves at the wellhead, so what do we got to do? Well, we got to defend against that. So let's then say that the price of gas is going to be based on a arm's length, meaning legitimate third-party transaction, that they're not affiliated or associated with each other. Two different companies at arm's length. That's going to be our sales price, not some self-dealing price. And no deductions, whether you company or your affiliate, whatever it may be, no deductions from the wellhead to the point of sale to a legitimate third-party, non-affiliated purchaser. So if you sell it to yourself at the wellhead company, the entity that you sell it to yourself, that entity that buys it, that's not the sell price. We're going to follow the gas from that entity, the affiliated company to your producer. We're going to take that, we're going to watch that, and we're going to see that, yeah, maybe the company sells it to their affiliate for $1 a unit. Then the affiliate transports the gas and sells it for $5 a unit. Well, we're going to get the $5 price. We're not going to let you self-deal, give us a sham price, and then transport it out and get a higher price. That's the defense here. Now look, can't always get that. Can't always get it. But I say it's about getting you the information. So when we're talking about royalties, no deductions, we're talking about these points and what is good and what is bad. And you may say, hey, I can't get the language that you just talked about. So then we talk about what you have and whether you want to do it. And many people do. Many people do. I'm up against it. I'm going to talk more about deductions. There's a myth. There's a myth in my mind. Myth. Deductions are 1 and 1.5% of your royalties. Total myth. I'm going to talk about that next week. Total. Oh God, it drives me crazy. Okay, I'm running over. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. I'm going to always leave you with two things. Number one, I do not, have not, will not ever work for a gas or pipeline company. Only you, the Pennsylvania landowners. Number two, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to give you three. Stop signing bad agreements. Stop signing bad agreements. And remember, the landman works for the gas or pipeline company, not you, the landowner. Have a great, great week, everyone.